Well, here we go again. How do I start this video? I was looking at YouTube and a video kind of popped up in on my radar, and without actually getting into it now, I'm gonna try to show you a little bit about my topic. And here's the video. It's about Bill Maher, who is, to my understanding, Jewish himself. I know that's a big topic now. I think he was trying to speak on slavery, and there's a lot of people talking about this critical race theory and not having to be able, not allowing their kids to learn about the history, America's bad history, and just a lot of people trying to erase history, just the bad part of history. You know, you want to remember all the great leaders like George Washington and the people of the Constitution and our forefathers of the country. And we always want to remember the great things, but we don't never want to remember about the bad shit that we did in this country. And this critical race theory is just another example of what's going on. And what's sad is you got black people championing that whole thought process. The ideology of, I don't want my child to actually think that he just came from slavery, which the irony of that is, how about teaching your child that black people didn't start in chains? We didn't come from slavery. And stop trying to push this narrative of, anyway, I digress. Let's just get into the video and we'll go from there. All right, I'm gonna try to work this because all this is new to me and I hadn't got everything set up good yet, but I'm learning. It's a learning curve for me, but my thought is kind of high right now. My thought process is high right now, and we're gonna get into it. Without further ado, let's play this video, and I'm gonna let y'all look at it. It's on my laptop.
Atrocities.
Yep.
Everybody who could afford one had a slave, including people of color. The way people talk about slavery these days, you'd think it was a uniquely American thing that we invented in 1619. But slavery throughout history has been the rule, not the exception. The Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Greeks, Romans, the Arabs, British, the early Americans, all the way up through R. Kelly.
Now,
This game, you're not ready for it.
now let's talk about what he was saying, right? And let me sit back and I have to think about it. Number one, the white people. Let me say this. Some white people. Let me say this. Wokeness is not an aha moment. So stop using that term because it doesn't apply to y'all. It's a term that's been co-opted by y'all. The term wokeness or being woke it's a spiritual thing. It's about black people waking up and realizing who the fuck they are and where we come from and all the lies that's been told surrounding us, our existence and our contributions. So it has nothing to do with y'all. All this new terminology that y'all coming up with, please cut it out. Please keep that nonsense, all that rhetoric, that bullshit. Keep it on y'all side of the fence. It has nothing to do with us. We're spiritual beings. And wokeness and being woke is not only about knowledge. It's a spiritual awakening. And trust me, if you don't know what it is, or haven't felt it, then you're probably not going to feel it. And for those of y'all who have felt it, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I don't need to address that anymore. Now, let's get into this Bill Maher and this narrative that slavery existed everywhere. Okay, I agree with him. That's true. Did black people involve themselves in slavery? I can agree with that too. That's true. Did black people involve themselves in selling their own people? Yeah, that's true. But let's dissect that, if you would. First of all, there are several types of slavery. Okay? There's indentured servitude. You know, that's when you actually, somebody owes you a debt, right? And they become your servant to work that debt off. That's indentured servitude, to my understanding. But you're not demonized, you're not dehumanized in that process. And there are no laws passed to make you feel less than or make you feel inferior, right? Okay, on to the next. Then you have prisoners of war who become slaves. Now, normally throughout history, to my knowledge, my understanding, several people, several nations that he was naming, the Samaritans, Egyptians, some of the Mali Empire, Zulu nations, whenever they captured or defeated their enemy or their perceived enemy or anybody that they faced in the war, a prisoner a lot of times became a slave, right? Okay, that's that kind of slave. Now, I'm not going to go into every detail about slavery, but I'm trying to make a point. The point is that what black people went through in this country is called chattel slavery. Now, if you don't know what it is, don't speak on it. But I will tell you this. If you Google it, it was probably one of the worst, most brutal slavery ever in history. So let's not try to smear it or dilute it with bullshit. And black people, let's stop allowing other people, including some of our own, diminish or marginalize our atrocities in our history, because we're still being affected by it. And let's stop letting other people minimize or try to take away the fact that it happened. It did happen. And people try to make it seem like, oh, it took place in 1619. Well, yeah, it did. How long did it last? People don't want to talk about that. Did it last 50 years, 60 years? Because again, now, this is a different type of slavery. Did it last 100 years? Well, according to my last Google search and book search, is that slavery didn't actually become legally abolished to, like, I want to say 1840s, somewhere in there. So that's at least 200 years of slavery. That's a lot of generations of black people being dehumanized, being lynched, being hanged, being shot at will, laws being created, and some of the laws didn't come off the books until the 1900s, and some of the effects and I'm gonna say some of the effects are still lingering because the country was founded on it. Number one. Number two, a lot of the ideology of slavery got passed on. Number three, the benefits of slavery in America has created a great wealth gap in America. So let's stop trying to minimize or allow other people to minimize our pain or what we suffered or what our ancestors suffered. That's just like going to a woman who was raped 20 years ago and tell her, yeah, everybody get raped. Get over it, girl. Think about that. Let that sink in for a while. Just let it sink in. Get over it. You know, everybody get raped. You know, or you try to throw a statistic at people and say things like, well, you know, statistically, rapes happen 10, 15 minutes, every 10 to 15 minutes, every day, all over the world. What does that mean? That you're good with numbers. That's all it means. That is true. But does that speak to her pain? Does that speak to her mindset being altered? Does that speak to her offspring now? That if she has an offspring, what is she going to teach and pass on to her offspring? How will it alter her mind? You know what I mean? Will she be able to get over it so she can have a happiness or a happy or a husband or a man can approach her, right? And please, anybody that's Jewish or white don't have any right or legality to speak on slavery or the tragedy or the pain that's felt behind it. Shut the hell up. Speak on your people. And anybody that has a problem with anything I said, by all means, the comment section is open. And I'm willing and ready to debate, to answer any questions, because I am a student first. Always willing to learn. But I will tell you this. I'm not going to let you bully me or feed me no bullshit and no regurgitated shit that some of these so-called smart people like Shapiro's and the Fox News correspondents or people have built. Some of these celebrities like to get on here and retweet and regurgitate some of the shit that somebody else told them without actually going and doing any research. Look up chattel slavery first. Compare it to any other slavery throughout history. And then come have a conversation with me. Right? And while you're doing that, right? Look up, better yet, let me say this. The next time anybody comes at any person of color, no, damn that, any African in the diaspora about get over slavery, it happened, or claiming that we're playing the victim, get over it, victim. Okay, cool. If that's your way of thinking, let's do that shit all the way across the board. Because if you want to play that game, let's play it all the way across the board. But let me say this. Don't forget about Kyrie and Kanye West in this conversation or in that thought process or any other person that brought up Jewish or the gas chamber or Hitler or the Nazis You know what I'm getting at. You know, the so-called genocide of the Jewish race, right? Bring that to them and see how they respond to it. See if they're going to allow you to marginalize their tragedy. See if they're going to allow you to minimize what took place in their history. See if it'll happen. I dare you. See if they won't come knocking on your door, right? Or if you're in a corporate business or a corporate office, or actually if you're working for them, open your mouth, your raggedy ass mouth, and do that to them. And see if they just kind of smear it over and just throw their hands and just be like, oh, please, oh, he just said that. I'm just going, it's all right. You know, pull yourself up by your bootstrap, like y'all like to tell us all the time. I'm so sick of other people from other races telling black people how we should feel. You shoot one of us in the back and tell us we shouldn't be angry. You go into a classroom, grown-ass white officer grabs a 15, 14-year-old girl, slams her to the floor, and we're supposed to just sit there and twiddle our thumbs. And what's sad is that we've been so petrified and demonized and told that we're angry people and such vicious people so much that we allow people to tell us to calm down. Here's the crazy part. If anybody has a right to be violent, should be the victim. You can't keep beating a sheep and beating a sheep and beating a sheep. And you're the wolf, you come in there and bite the sheep and bite the sheep and bite the sheep. And when the sheep get a gun and blast your ass back, you blame the sheep for being violent. Look at our history in America. Look at our history all over the world. How much more can y'all do to black people that hasn't been done? That's still going on. We're still being captured and put into slavery. We are still being demonized. Social media, all on the news. We are still being marginalized in our achievements, in our contributions. We are still being tossed to the back of the conversation when it comes to reparations and what's owed to us from this country. And the sad part about it is, the reason why people try to marginalize our history and what we've gone through is because of that, right? Now all of a sudden people want to forget about slavery because it's hurting the slave owners' children. Think about that. Damn the slaves' offsprings and what they've gone through. Damn them. Damn the victims' children and the mentality of them and why they are going through everything and the way their thought process is. Damn the fact that you wouldn't allow them to read or speak their native tongue. Cut them off from their whole ancestral tree. Teach them everything against their spirituality. Damn all of that. We want to protect the white kids because we don't want them to feel bad about what their parents did in the dark. Or what their great-grandparents did, right? Think about that. Let us deal with our pain in the way we want to deal with it. That's what y'all do. That's what everybody else does. From my understanding, it might be a good thing that we do get angry. Because a lot of times black people get angry and talk loud. Black people get angry and tear shit up. But violence, we're violent to each other. I agree with that. But just general violence, white America, you can't come to us and say shit about being violent. Nobody white or of European descent. Look at your history, man. Look at what you do now. Being bullied in school, you want to go shoot up the whole damn school. Think about that. Many black kids take a gun and just shoot everybody in the whole classroom and shoot everybody that's involved in laughing at them. Go into a theater room and shoot everybody. Go into a concert and shoot everybody. Come on, man. To be quite honest, if I can be blunt and frank, because I'm going to be that anyway. If 2 or 3 people get killed in a black shootout, it's because they got in the way. We was aiming at that one guy. A lot of us are not great shooters. That's how it happens with us. But to purposely go in and shoot a bunch of people up because you saw that one laugh and that one laugh and that one laugh and that one laugh, and now you want to blame everybody because you don't know how to deal with your pain. But you want to sit up and dictate how black people deal with theirs. We sick of that shit, bro. Do we have a right to be angry? Out of all the people on the planet, we have every right to be angry. Our great-great-grandfathers and mothers, the fathers and the mothers were raped by your ancestors, killed by your ancestors. Horses tied to both ends of a man's leg. Now, think about that. And beat the horse till they split him open. Who thinks about shit like that? Shooting a man so much that you can't even recognize him no more. Or beating him that bad. Emmett Till. 14-year-old boy. We don't have a right to be angry? Man, cut it out. Yeah, anyway, food for thought.